Hello and welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. Viperoon and Nymaera coming at you live with our final game of the day. And Nymaera, I'm not going to say we saved the best till last, but we did save Corp versus Vodafone Giants for last, so you can make your own conclusions.
I can do. And, you know, I feel like I've come across a secret technique here to rocket us to superstardom, because I feel like we have an unprecedented opportunity to take bribes from these teams and say which one wants us to be their fan. So maybe you could be a Giants fan, I could be a Karmine Corp fan. We could really rail up those fan bases, which are so active and loud. And they had some great games yesterday. Attila, 11-1 and 11, I believe it was, had 50% or thereabouts of his team's damage on the Ezreal. Hard carry to the letter.
Very scary performance from him, and as we saw up against that Matchco team that today did so much work, losing out in the end, but definitely not a team to be sniffed at. And so many strong performances from this Vodafone Giants roster across the board, and both of these teams are just massive favorites, you've got to imagine, from the region. We're seeing Corp here against Mousesport, who again won the last game.
They won the last game, and they looked like, of course, incredible late-game team fighters, and that's where Karmine Corp ended up beating them out. You can see right here, I mean, xMatty was so slippery in those team fights, and SAKEN on the Twisted Fate. Of course, we've seen that player perform to such high standards before. And he turned up again here. There are so many good matchups to focus in on, in this matchup in particular.
I would say there's 5 good matchups to be focusing on in this game, because there's players. Oh, you even look at support. Targamas versus Kaising. That's mad. There's so many names here, and I'm looking at the notes that we've made and discussions that we've had, and pretty much every player is like either a huge name in their own right, a player that should be maybe looking towards LEC coming towards 2022, or both. Like, every single player on the Rift that's going to be loading in is exceptionally talented. And I know that we always hype up the teams here at the Amazon European Masters. We always say these are the next generation, but we've got 10 players in this game who actually might be.
Absolutely. I think that according to many people's opinions, and I think I'm among them, actually, Targamas may very well be the best support at ERL level. His team fighting is sublime, absolutely sublime. And there is a reason why xMatty is often put onto the likes of the Ezreal, which he performs to an absolutely hilariously efficient degree. He has a very high damage percentage of his team, because it allows Targamas to play something a bit more selfish. It allows him to be the big engager, not necessarily just babysitting the AD carry, which is actually something more which Kaising does to Attila, to enable that hyper carry and that bot lane role. It's a very different juxtaposition to make between these two supports, who are, of course, very effective at what they do, playing around their particular styles.
And we've got so much talent across the board as well. You look at that top lane, Cabochard, a name that we'll all be familiar with if you've gone even remotely near League of Legends before, up against the Antonio,
I remember
who's been
Season
around.
5 Cabochard. That was a fun time.
It's just good hours, but we have found ourselves into picks and bans for the final time this evening. Vodafone Giants on the blue side, banning away that Rise. And we've got Corp making their way onto the red side.
SAKEN has his Rise banned away most of the time. They've played a whole lot of champions throughout the split. I believe actually going back towards their summer split, hasn't played a champion more than 3 times, and that's over a large sample of games. Viego going to be removed, thankfully, although 113 does play that champion. It's not really been something that they've played during the playoffs. I think they played in the start of the summer split for Vodafone Giants. So removing that from the table, maybe just returning to a bit more comfort, a bit more of recent history for the Giants.
Viego, Tristana, and Sivir going to be taken off the table. Attila definitely being the one focus, which I can understand why. You've got to imagine that Ezreal probably is the other champion that they might be scared of giving over, but xMatty, as you said, loves that one so much. Maybe they leave it up with the hope that something else is going to be prioritized for Vodafone Giants, but that's the risk that you've got to play. Again, so many really strong marksmen in this tournament, and these are 2 of the greats that we've got in this game. It's going to be Twisted Fate, the final ban away from Vodafone Giants. We'll have to see if Ezreal makes his way through.
Well, and the thing about banning away the Rise, that often you can kind of go to a similar-ish champion in the way that you play the map, and you can play towards topside dives with the Twisted Fate. Of course, the Destiny doing similar to what Realm Warp and Rise's lane priority can give you. 380 carries in the first round. If there's anything which Vodafone Giants do, it is front-to-back team fight. If you give a specialist AD carry towards front-to-back team fighting to Attila, we saw what he did yesterday. You do not want to fall into that frame of mind, particularly when this is the kind of matchup which could very well appear in the finals. This is the kind of thing where the Spanish fans, the French fans truly believe these teams will be towards the top of the tree, and I find it very hard to argue against that. Rakan first pick, that's been a mainstay at this tournament.
Absolutely, and we've seen a little bit of Xayah as well, so we could even see that duo being picked up, and it's going to be the Ashe Zhao instant response here. Really like the aggressive pick for Cinkrof and xMatty on the Ashe, adding some utility and DPS. This could be exciting.
It can be. Of course, Rakan can get right on top of the Ashe, but the Ashe has some control in the laning phase. No Thresh banned. That potentially leaves the option open of going towards that, but Targamas is not a player which plays a lot of it. They do ban the Rise a fair amount. They banned it something like 42% of their summer season games. They would rather play stuff which is, again, more towards that team fighting style of play. Of course, you had that great Gragas game yesterday, which we did refer to before. It's going to be Zhao into Trundle, so Trundle has been the pick of choice most often into Zhao, unless the Viego is up. On the other side, though, looks like the Giants potentially think about taking away that Gragas themselves, because that's what Targamas played into the last Rakan he faced.
Ooh, interesting. We're going to have the Aphelios coming on through. We usually expect to see this one with a little bit more of a protective support. Rakan, of course, can do that, and we know that Kaising does do that for Attila in this kind of bot lane dynamic, but it's a different option that we're going to have to see if it works out for them, and LeBlanc coming through with SAKEN. This is what we love to see.
Is this an aggressive lane? It gives you one of, if not the strongest 2v2 mid-jungles in the game, particularly maybe Lee Sin is the stronger one besides that, but it allows them to really put down the hurt onto Miniduke, who I believe, we had a word with a player apparently that is how the name is pronounced, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but until such time happens, that'll be the way I'll be saying it. Going into those second round of bans, and no support picked up for Corp, so potential bans away from Giants in the second round.
Yeah, Fresh, of course, you mentioned, not really a Targamas champ, but goes well with Ashe, so could look to get that one off the table. There are a couple of other really strong, those heavy engaged supports that they might want to get rid of, or they might want to just take away options that are good into the LeBlanc. Stuff like the Lissandra, the Galio, you could even look at the Lucian as maybe being someone that you want to be getting rid of if you're not feeling like it.
The Silas is one of the few champions which has real kill pressure onto that champion. The other one really is probably someone like Aurelia, but that's much more comp dependent. You want to really know that you're into a lower range composition where you can win the side lanes and of course win out in that mid-jungle 2v2 again. Stop rolling around that early. I don't think that's likely to be the case in this game. Want to play something, again, a bit more front-to-back team fight, which is the calling card of this team. Maybe looking towards something like, I mean, the Rise is already gone, so yes, Lucian may be the other one besides that. However, Lissandra, the pick taken away, the more historical counter, which has been returning a bit towards the meta.
Yeah, we've seen it a little bit across the RLs as LeBlanc came back. Lissandra sort of was that simple option for the counter pick. It's just so easy to play that matchup if you're able to play Lissandra, which a lot of our mid laners have shown that they can do. And now it's a case of, are we going to see another one of these supports taken off the table? Is Targamas going to lose out on something that he's very comfortable on? Or do you want to go in a different direction and remove another power pick? It's going to be the Renekton taken away, mainly from Cabochard. And he had a Jace game earlier and he's made it free. So maybe we see that one again.
Potentially that could work. I mean, you are running with a bit of a range advantage right now. Of course, it depends what comes out of that mid lane, but you land a Shock Blast onto the Rakan in particular. They don't exactly have a way to start out playing that. However, you can't, most of the time with Rakan, with the Jace rather, you want to be against a team that can't hard engage.
Yeah.
The Rakan is a big threat with that. I know that in the past when Giants have played the Jace themselves, they played it into, like Azir composition, because just have the Azir and they want to sit back and DPS. That's not going to be the case for either of these ones. Alistar locked in, that is something which of course can just headbutt the Rakan away. It allows you to face check very well, and it is another pick which is kind of able to get through the brawl of the no man's land of the front lines and get through to that back line with a well-timed enough combo.
And now it's going to be Giants trying to put themselves together a composition that can stop this Alistar getting through. And it starts off with Syndra going into mid lane. Miniduke going to be able to play this very strong champion, very powerful in terms of burst, does a lot of DPS, and SAKEN going to be meeting that one with the LeBlanc. And now it's all about the top lane. What are we going to see being locked in for the Antonio? He's going to be picking it blind, which is never super fun. There are a couple of strong top laners still available on the table, though, and Ornn is going to be the safe pick.
Welcome back, Mr. Tank GC. The Antonio has been forever put onto that side of the map. Doesn't matter if it's weak or strong side, it's going to be a beef ball up there. This split actually has been going back towards a couple more carries. Sometimes a cannon, sometimes stuff like Jace and the like of that. However, you have just picked an Ornn blind when there are things like the set which are available, and as much as you can W Bellow's Breath through the showstopper. If you did go towards that, there was the chance of that, of course, ruining your team fights. Instead, looks like we're going to get ourselves a Lee Sin top lane. We haven't seen Lee Sin top that recently on the last couple of patches. So going back to something, I mean, but then again, Cabochard always was a Lee Sin top player. He was playing this back in like season 5-6, and he was really annoyed that he wasn't in the LEC when it came back into meta. Gets a chance to show us here at EU Masters though.
Yeah, he was playing it when it wasn't necessarily good, and now it's good. So, Cabo, we did it, buddy. We made it to the.
Well, hang on. There have been plenty of times in history.
Yeah,
there has been some which
it's been
really
fine.
good.
It's not that exciting.
Don't realize it. Heck, he was playing AP Gangplank for a while, but that was a very long time ago. And we have ourselves our compositions now. A lot more heavy skirmish composition from Karmine Corp. A lot of potential terrain control and catch coming in from the Giants, though. I mean, you look at that, the Trundle pillar, and you look at Scout of the Week. There's a lot of stuff where if you step too far into a choke point, things can go very badly wrong.
Absolutely, and I want to just ask you quickly. I know you said that we needed to be a fan of each team. Can we swap? Can I be a K-Corp fan? Is that allowed?
Okay, well, it depends, you know, like I said, it does give us a potential to have plenty of Twitter interactions as we just start tweeting out at their fans, which are wonderful. You know what, I'll give it to you for now, and we'll just, I don't know, be very happy when
I have good reasoning, if that helps, as we have loaded onto the riff for the final game of the day. We've got Vodafone Giants on the blue side, we've got K-Corp on the red, two of the favorites for the tournament coming head-to-head in day number 2. And it's because I like to bully Karmine, one of my colleagues casting in the Baltics this season, obviously from Spain. And, you know, I'd like it if the French team won here, just so I could laugh at her afterwards.
Oh, so Giants are one of the best and most active level 1 teams in the league. We have the W start from Rakan. Occasionally we will see this. It allows you to wait until the second round of your cooldowns and get back. xMatty, not in that one opening, but there is the potential of a flash to be blown here, if not a kill.
Trouble. Does have flash available, looking towards the wall. Can he get away? Yes, he can, as Vodafone Giants go for the invade. They managed to burn the resource. And they're actually looking to press forward just a little bit to see if they can grab anything more. And Targamas and xMatty being very respectful not to go back in.
But one thing which I'm now quite interested in is that, okay, you've invaded onto blue side. If you stick around and steal blue, you're going to have a jungler with red buff on the top side coming down to contest you if you try and clear out more of that quadrant. Because most of the time, blue buff is nice. It's a nice takeaway, but it's not the same as getting an extra red buff and having the extra dueling potential. They are going to steal that away. SAKEN going to trade in the mid lane, potentially allowing him to get some priority in the early waves. I'm very interested in seeing if Cinkrof will take away this red early and immediately run bot.
We'll have to keep an eye on both of these junglers as they do look to move across the map. And as you said, they have to make decisions. And Cinkrof is moving immediately, skipping out on any of the camps in the top side, going towards Wolves and seeing what he can do.
That's really clever. That's really clever. They understand that, but he stayed a bit long as 1-1-3. Is going to get out, but it is some time blown as they went on towards the Gromp.
Oh, Cinkrof actually might look for the engage here. Going to force the flash away from 1-1-3. SAKEN was the first one to respond from the mid lane. So he's going to be forcing the flash away, and 1-1-3 just going to start up his red buff. But the fight's still going. Zhao still here.
He is, and he's got the E again. He has the flash and the red buff.
Yeah, and the knock-up. He's going to be able to win out on the exchange and does able to get the flash forward. Smite is burnt for a little bit of health, and now Cinkrof needs to be careful. Miniduke gets the stun, and the first blood goes over to Trundle. That's not how that was meant to go.
No, because the trade lasts long enough, and Smite heals so much nowadays that mid priority becomes a factor because it lasts long enough. The first step in this tango between the two teams is determined by the junglers. Again, it was the right move in my eyes to take the red buff, run towards bot, and contest that buff. It's just a slight overstay where SAKEN couldn't come to help.
Damage coming on down a little bit in the mid lane, and it's a perfect start from Vodafone Giants. They're going to be completely happy taking up what is essentially multiple buffs, getting a reset on there, and able to grab themselves the triple buff as well. So Trundle having an excellent time. 1-1-3 is really excited for this one. But moving into this bot lane, we talked about it a little bit briefly earlier, but Attila versus xMatty, two of the best marksmen, two of the best players in this tournament, and even in the early stages of this one, they've shown exactly what they can do.
And of course, we've seen their games from yesterday, but looking towards what they achieved in their summer splits, they have been massive damage output for their teams. xMatty has often been on something like the Ezreal, and sometimes the champion picks do come into this, but the fact that xMatty can play whilst allowing Targamas to roam around the map and getting 31.3% damage share, whilst not really being the focal point of his support's attention, is really, really impressive to me. However, on the other side, Attila, lots of efficiency, plays with the lead very respectfully, and has racked up some great numbers on their own. Look at that damage percentage, not slouching that either, and that CS per minute, it means that he's always going to be a threat if you leave him alone in a game.
It's the perfect example of saying, look, you can have two very different styles of play and still find great success and the same kind of outcome, which is massive damage, massive kills, and big wins for your team, because both of these players are capable of winning games outright for their respective teams, which we saw from their regions. Of course, massively successful for Vodafone Giants. Corp upset in the final, I think it's fair to say, speaking to a couple of people from over in the LFL. And it's the fact that they got upset in the final, that they're not the first seed. That makes the LFL a very scary prospect. And it's not like they were not a massive region before this, but they're really stepping up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, Adam left towards greener pastures, towards the Fnatic roster in the LEC, and has done fantastically there in this split. But Cabochard coming in, it's not necessarily a downgrade, right? I mean, as much as Adam has been the player of the moment, Cabochard is almost like a side grade, right? He's not going to have that clutch solo kill potential, but he's solid, does have incredible mechanics too, and has a wealth of experience to bring towards these kind of situations. Just like these supports do too. Like we were saying, very high level. We praised our bot laners and how they can succeed with different styles. Remember, before that, we were talking about exactly the same thing when it came to Kaising and Targamas. This is an all-star matchup. Cannot wait to see how it comes towards these big team fights when we start having our big carries coming online.
I guess the question here is, what do these two teams need to do in those team fights? What do they need to be set up as? Because is there a team that needs to be getting going early? We've got Cinkrof on the Zhao, who obviously we've said all of today needs to be getting those aggressive moves going forward. Does that mean that Corp need to be the ones getting the tempo early?
There is a worry, because then you have the Antonio, who has been one of the best team fighting, just in general, tank players in the ERL and the European scene for a very long time at this point. He's been put behind a little bit by the Lee Sin, forced back, but once this Ornn comes online, trying to stand and fight as this Ashe is going to be nigh impossible. So Karmine Corp are going to have to think of ways they can start approaching these fights without going towards that, again, the calling card of the Giants, that 5v5 front to back, which they're so good at. They're going mid.
Nice kick coming forward onto Miniduke, and he's got nowhere to go. Cabochard secures the kill. Yes, the teleport came on through from the Antonio, but isn't able to catch anyone out with CC, and 1-1-3, not able to help either. It's a return kill for Corp.
Oh, sick play from one of the original Lee Sin top lane players. Miniduke, I mean, he's in an okay spot. The wave is pushing out, sure, but Cabochard flashes past the scat of the week. Rare do you see that. Syndra sometimes has been caught out in past metas from too many champions attacking from too many different angles, particularly until you get towards that level 13 when you get the wider arc of stun and pushback. Really well played from a well-timed top lane roam from the early advantages you got against the Antonio.
And now it's a case of what he's going to be able to do with that kill. He's picked himself up an Iron Spike Whip, which is going to help him out with a lot of damage, a lot of resetting on those autos. As SAKEN moving towards the bot lane, Kaising able to just dance away. He's not too worried about the Alistar if he can't get the headbutt pulverize exactly right. And Targamas not able to get the engage this time around.
No, he was trying to, get the maximum value out of the CC by headbutting into the walls. Then you can just walk up and headbutt after that, pulverize after that, rather, excuse me. SAKEN not able to find an inroad with their own roam. Of course, trying to repay the favor which Cabochard delivered into his lane. And we return to a bit of a lull. Dragon is up, Herald coming up soon as well. We see ourselves a reset coming in. And what I'm interested to see now, of course, is what's going to happen with Kaising, because they have themselves the first reset. Often the first support reset is the one which matters the most, because as much as you can make educated guesses as a support saying, okay, they are likely go towards top side, in the early game, you don't have the vision to back that up. You are still playing with limited information, and if you're the first person to roam, you are the one with the onus and the ability to really upset the map.
And the roam he has. 1-3 is there as well. They're looking to make a play towards this mid lane. Can't find anything onto LeBlanc, not the easiest gank in the world, even for a Rakan and a Trundle. So they're going to hang around and see if there's an overextension to be had. But Targamas has now also made his way there. And actually, xMatty as not too far away with Cinkrof. Everyone moving towards this dragon. Looks like there could be a teleport coming through. It looks like they're trying to get the play going down. xMatty misses the ultimate, but will be getting damage onto Attila. Cinkrof secures that one. Corp with the kill, and Dragon surely is on the cards for them.
Oh, what a statement early game. Not the jungler. Well, junglers don't have teleport, and it's been a while since I've seen a spellbook on one of them, but some magical plays. Spellbook or none from Cabochard on this Lee Sin top has made such an impact. Just when you think you're safe, you just have no idea and blindsides you.
Yeah, he just makes it look so effortless. And now Vodafone Giants looking to trade onto this top side, grab themselves the Rift Herald uncontested because the dragon is being secured by the team from the LFL. It's going to be the Ocean starting us up, and Inferno coming on through next. So it looks like xMatty also going to be able to take a couple of plates in return for the Rift Herald, which is in the back pocket of the Trundle. 113 can decide where to invest.
They can. And of course, that's the opportunity cost of Karmine. Used that word a couple of times before, because of course we're in this early game, particularly when you have split neutrals, which can get taken down in a relatively quick time span. This is what you give up, right? You give up that gold guaranteed from that Herald almost. We have a lane swap coming in, potentially aiming to get some of that gold onto Aphelios, who is one of the best gold-reliant carries in the game. Give them the extra resources, and they certainly pay you back in full. You can see that 113 has made their way up there. Attila has slowly but surely started stacking up this wave. Could potentially lead to a crash dive at that point. And we know teleport available on the Lee Sin. No pesky kicks coming in to disrupt that play this time.
Not this time around. Cabochard has moved to the bot side to try and get the push in against the Ornn, against the Antonio. But it's going to be resets coming in from Vodafone Giants. They're not particularly interested in looking for that dive without the assistance that they require, and are looking to just reset before the next play. 10 minutes on the clock. It's a little lead for Corp with a kill in hand as well, but it's really nothing to write home about. And both of these teams, it's been a much slower game than we've seen today in a lot of our games here at the Amazon Esports European Masters. There's a lot of words that begin with E there that could be involved, but it's nice to have a different change of pace, to have something that's a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical. Both of these teams not wanting to do anything that they know won't necessarily pay off.
But by no means low level, right? I mean, we saw right from that early level 1. I mean, Giants came in with a plan. Obviously, it looked like they were prepared for that, and the response from Cinkrof was good up until it wasn't, but the instinct was correct there. Just fell apart at the last stage of it. No dragon spawning right now. Of course, the first one went down to the French team. Cabochard looking to reset, but he is on vision. It let him back for now, not wanting to commit to a fight. And again, just calculated, not trying to commit to a fight they can't really finish. Don't want to bite off more than they can chew.
I mean, they're looking towards this mid lane. 113 going to be dropping the Rift Herald here as Attila is moving up, so he could look to get in on the gold. A lot of other people are going to do so as well. They might want to try to even take down this tower with the chop coming on through. The charge is there. Targamas is trying to stop it, but won't be able to do too much. It's going to be able to deny a little bit of the damage, though, as the ultimate will not come through from the Antonio. He was kicked away as Cinkrof needs to be careful. He jumps away, but a nice triple knockup means that Cabochard will fall. Vodafone Giants will be able to take this mid tower in the end as well. First tower and even up the kill score.
Again, once again today, we see the AD carry not at the fight, and yet their team commits to it. Lots of micro plays, which ended up favoring the Giants. However, they didn't get themselves that on ult. You are correct. Very close run thing, because we saw that the headbutt pulverize combo was actually interrupted midway through. Actually not sure, didn't catch exactly what it was. That's why it was so unexpected. But luckily, that's what we have replays for. Such a clutch fight. Targamas walking out. You can see that Miniduke sat in the middle of it. And it's going to be actually the Herald. The Herald charge knocks him out of the headbutt pulverize. Just mistimes it just that half a second too early. He doesn't get that big team fight play, whereas the Antonio turns around and gets one of his own.
Really love the Antonio getting that massive knock-up off the Trundle pillar. It's a fun interaction because, of course, that is something that he can get knock-ups off, and that was a real turning point in that fight. Of course, Vodafone Giants able to crack open the mid lane now. It makes it a little bit easier to move around the map, a little bit easier to grab stuff like the Dragon and the second Herald when that comes up. And Targamas might be caught out a little bit here. Has got the ultimate, which is going to keep him a little bit tanky, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. There's too much CC, and yeah, the tenacity's there, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, all well and good having an ultimate. Yeah, all well and good having the Unbreakable Will. There are some situations you just don't want to be in, and Giants find themselves a free pick for that first kill of the game onto Targamas, and they are slowly accruing themselves a significant lead. This is 1.5k, it's not going to game break, but it is still enough for them to control things, right? They have themselves the engage, the pick, the ability to walk in and make it very difficult for Karmine Corp to face check. How do you face check? Like we saw with Targamas there, into the continued chase down potential of a Trundle with W, with the slow on the Chomp, with pillars and everything. It becomes very difficult to claw yourself back into this game if you start letting it slip. Hawkshot helps, but they need to be very coordinated now to not fall prey to the next play.
Drag it up in 5, so this could be a play to decide who gets the free run on that one. Vodafone Giants have secured themselves a couple of extra members down here, so could look to just start it up, and that's exactly what they're going to do. You've got Miniduke up there with 113, Attila and Kaising, all 4 members going to be starting this block. Teleport coming in from Cabochard. They want to say this fight. Cinkrof has been caught out without the rest of the team, and Targamas going on in and breaking up the fight. And Cinkrof needs to be massively careful, gets tanky, but not tanky enough. Kaising has gone golden as 113 still alive, gets kicked through his team, but is able to get out the other side. Cabochard gets in under tower, 200 health on him as xMatty looks to get damage down, but it's only the Ornn that he can hit, and the Ornn don't care. Miniduke will be able to get a stump through, and now there's the revenge of the Antonio. He's the one securing the kill onto xMatty. And Vodafone Giants, yes, they won't be able to get the dragon immediately, but they take the fight.
And there's no relevant damage onto the Antonio. This Ornn is already holding the door shut in front of the LFL representatives. They do get themselves a chain. It's not going to be a second one. Actually, SAKEN really feeling it.
Through Miniduke needs to be careful. SAKEN isn't able to get that killing blow, as you said, and it looks like this fight peters out once again.
It does. So this is where the Ornn starts coming online. This is why I was worried about the early game plays, giving the Giants the chance to choose their own terrain and affect these plays. Targamas sadly can't stick around and disrupt the front line in his own way, because he doesn't have the ultimate. That was blown in that last pick. While Cabochard does a decent amount of damage and calculates his own health bar well enough so he gets out alive, it isn't the same as Zen being actually a diving threat onto the backline. Nor does Matty have the damage to deal any relevant damage towards that one. It was a very well split fight from the Giants, where they managed to make sure that the right people were being hit by the AD carry, and they got their own damage off in spades. And now Karmine Corp will want to potentially fight again. Choose not to go in for the steal.
Yeah, not interested in going in for the steal. Don't know if he would have got it regardless. 113 was there with the smite. So it will be one dragon apiece as the cloud winds quicken. Once again, second one of the games that we've casted, Nymaera, that's going to be getting this treatment. And is there a team that prefers it?
I mean, in terms of the map, I think whoever has, more presence on the other side of the map is going to be the team which appreciates it the most, because you are, and right now that is Giants, of course, because it just allows you to rotate to the play much quicker, and Giants are the ones that are choosing the play. So it just allows them to have an extra window of opportunity to find the big picks. And in terms of the actual champions that want it, of course, Ornn uses the ultimate for so many different scenarios. I'm a big fan of basic Cloud Drakes onto LeBlanc, because your ult is used pretty much on cooldown for your big burst and poke combos. Outside of that, not a massively impactful soul to have there in terms of the movement speed.
It's always one that feels a little bit less impactful, but it's still something that's worth considering, and both of these teams aren't going to want to let the opposition have it. Rotations are always nice, and SAKEN might want to rotate himself out of this situation. 113, Miniduke and Kaising all heading up, but there is support waiting in the wings for K-Corp as well. 113 just going to be able to drop that Rift Tower before trying to get the play going down. Kaising takes a tower shot, but does now have that charge coming on forward. This tower is not long for this world. Cabochard will make it a 1-for-1 in the bot lane, though, taking down that outer. As Vodafone Giants looking to get a second charge off, and K-Corp might look for an overextension here.
Remember what happened last time with that Herald? The Giants understood their power within a siege situation and the ability to keep on diving. They land the stun. They're choosing the
damage on the Cinkrof, who's going to have to ult and flash to try and get away, but a really nice job coming through from Kaising, who keeps Edward in place. Yes, he goes down, but Cinkrof is the price. The ultimate from xMatty flies through the team fight, hitting absolutely no one. As the Vodafone Giants are happy with the trade, they get 2 towers for 1 and a kill to boot. They're going to step away.
Okay, Crescent Guard coming in as effectively an extra tank member at that point. They have themselves their temporary frontline abilities between that and the Alistar's Unbreakable Will. They don't quite fall to the same worst case scenario of the last Herald fight. Yes, lots of damage coming in, and that pillar plus the ultimate from Trundle holds Cinkrof in place and makes him very, very vulnerable. But Kaising is the one that overextends, and there was enough damage there even without the Ashe to punish that entrance.
Not able to survive that one, and it's just crazy how long Cinkrof was able to survive there when he was taking so much damage. The ultimate, as we've seen 3 games already in the latter half of today, doing so much work for Zhao players. Kaising was able to trade, and it was overall a decent exchange for Vodafone Giants because they were able to get those towers down as well. And the top side of the map has been cracked open pretty substantially for them. As we move towards the bot of the map, Baron's up in a minute, so that one will be available as something we can start considering, but right now neither of these teams looks too interesting.
No, and that has allowed these teams to play quite wide on the map and find random skirmishes. Targamas doesn't have the ult, does have flash.
Cinkrof's been smited out. A lot of damage going in onto Syndra. Miniduke is definitely the focus, and LeBlanc will be able to survive this time around. SAKEN able to sneak out the back of the fight. xMatty's on the side. He's looking for a target. Can he find anyone useful? He's going to get knocked up by the Ornn, who's on the side. Cinkrof has managed to get the kill on a Kaising's Rakan as he stands strong. 1-1 goes down. That's the ultimate coming through from xMatty, breaking up the fight and catching onto Attila, who's going to be executed by LeBlanc, who's still alive, ladies and gentlemen, as it's a clean 4-0 coming through from the LFL representatives. They're going to move onto the map a little bit further and could look to set up around the Baron, which spawns in 10 seconds time.
All well and good, drafting for a 5v5, knowing that as your area of specialty, but what happens when things start before your front line is in place, before you get to choose the play? Karmine Corp get to actually choose the play for the first time in quite a long time. Yes, SAKEN is pretty much taken out of the fight, but they're still alive, and you don't have the extra CC, you don't have the extra ability to buy space, buy safety, and Attila is completely out of sorts at that point. Doesn't matter that xMatty is zoned out from the play, the Zhao is doing relevant damage, and you've already lost one of the few people that wants to disengage that. Snowballed into the fight, Karmine Corp find a slim opening to find a great grand reward.
Yeah, they were able to set themselves up a little bit around that Baron, but quick responses from Vodafone Giants means that they've got some vision, but Kaising needs to be careful. He's going to have to ult and jump onto Attila to safety, but that's a big tool being wasted on just keeping your support alive. And now they're looking to get onto Miniduke. Cabochard gets on board and is able to get the kick down damage coming through. Cinkrof secures that one, but the Antonio stopped in his tracks, will not be able to get a knockup, but members of K-Pop around him are very, very low. Teleports coming on through. Nice arrow coming on, but this time it only hits onto Trundle. 113 is the target. They take down the Ornn on the side. It's a shutdown for Cabo, who's going to be able to pick up a double with another excellent follow-through. And K-Corp once again take the fight second in quick succession as they run towards the mid lane.
Okay, so once again, not letting the front line set up in place, not letting them get to the point where they are happy to fight with their carries having an extra degree of safety. Really love how Cinkrof played this fight, because they actually noticed that he's got his Q active at this point, holds the knockup to interrupt the E from the Antonio, doesn't allow that extra CC to come through, then Ornn just doesn't have anything left to fight with. That's the damage gone. Everyone has to play retreat again, find a rearguard action, but still they fall.
And now they're going to be getting onto Baron this time around, but teleports coming through from the Giants will dissuade them as the boys in blue will stop the epic monster being taken down. It was very, very early time to start it. Are either of the teams able to get the clutch Baron? Are they able to take it down particularly quickly?
So when you do have an Aphelios, you have the right weapons, of course, that does absolutely shred, particularly when you have something like a Lord Dominate's Regards, because it does have that extra passive of if the enemy has more max HP than you, it does actually do that extra damage towards neutral objectives as well, which means you do have, of course, a lot of your base damages and all of those big weapons going even faster.
Now Vodafone Giants on the back foot somewhat. They're not out of this one by any means, but the last couple of team fights have been all about K-Corp, and as we saw on those gold graphics at the bottom of your screen, it was a big lead for Vodafone Giants that has been whittled away and turned into a Karmine Corp lead. And now they're going to be able to see what they can do when they're on the front foot for the first time in a long time in this game. We're only 23 minutes on the clock. There's plenty of League of Legends left to be played in our final game of the day. But goodness me, both of these teams, again, it's both of these teams playing exceptionally well. We haven't seen anyone in the second half of the day particularly stumble.
No, and that's the thing which has been what sets apart teams like these two from some of the others that we have seen. It seems like they aren't taking the plays which are then, you know, massively turned around. They're not being foolhardy, if you say what I mean. What I'm very interested in now is obviously the Giants have seen that, okay, what you were doing with your side lanes has not worked out, particularly the Syndra has been preyed upon whenever they've gone to go farm alone. And you have to leave someone to farm alone, so what's going to happen with that? I need to see how they adapt in-game now. What's the in-game leadership like to come back? Because Karmine Corp, after that difficult early game, have managed to find themselves a route to success even with that.
And it's not an easy route to success, but it's not something that's dominant. There's still plenty of options for Vodafone Giants to win teamfights. As you say, they've got this really strong Aphelios who can do a lot of work if he's given the opportunity to do so. They've got Miniduke, who has also been hitting a lot of very nice stuns and a lot of very nice combos. It's just not been that finishing touch in enough cases to make it a big teamfight decider. And they've got the teamfight ability to make big dents in this LFL team. It's just a question of if they can do so soon enough and what Corp can do in order to prevent them from doing so.
I mean, we're going to get the Ornn items through soon as well, and particularly that's going to be going on to the Aphelios. That's going to be extra stats too. This is not a game which has largely been decided by gold right now. It's been more about the positioning across the map and again, how you approach the fight, which is actually more of the hallmark that we've seen. Gold, as much as it's nice to give you some kind of semblance of who's in the lead, it rarely is the be-all and end-all of how to determine who is actually winning in the game. If the fight, again, comes down to front to back, and there's the Antonio that's really sat there and being able to wail, or at least be the one that's being wailed on, I guess, I think that Giants are very okay with that, as long as you've got Attila similarly putting out damage themselves. You
were saying earlier in the day, like, do you ever really want to be hit with CC? I think Antonio is pretty happy to be hit with all the CC in this game.
The W helps quite a lot.
Yeah.
You're right, okay. Good throwback, I appreciate that.
You know, just got to remind people of what they're dealing with.
Glad you're holding me to account.
It's good, you know, I've got to keep you...
Keep me on my toes. Make sure
when it comes to analysis.
Make sure everything's watertight. Okay, right. What's the next thing that's happening? Of course, we're talking about, okay, what does the Cloud Rift really mean for these teams? The Soul is, you know, it's never bad. Movement speed is very important, particularly when you are a less mobile carry, like, of course, mid AD carry rather, from the Giants. The Ashe involved with that too. But the Rift itself is very important if you're the one pushing across the river. If you're the one that's making the plays, that's an ultimate. He's gonna have to flash.
Antonio is called to the fight. xMatty's the one called out. He's going to be knocked up, and it's going to be a shutdown for Kaising on the Rakan. Very well played from the top support duo to secure that one. Can they get anything off the back of it, though?
And they are moving slowly towards that Baron. Miniduke, if they're caught, though.
Miniduke needs to be careful. Teleport coming in behind as well. Vodafone Giants might be in a lot of trouble. Shut down, unstoppable. Cabochard secures that one as members ebb and flow around the fight. SAKEN jumping on through, trying to get onto 1-1-3, but can't land the chains that would hold him in place. Vodafone Giants are chased away from the objective as Miniduke also removed.
All right, vision giveth, vision taketh away. It leads to the pick onto Matty. That's all well and good, but it's Miniduke once again. The Syndra, who's often left on their lonesome, not playing with bodyguard Kaising, that gets caught out. That turns around the play, and it stops this aggressive motion from Giants in their tracks. Vodafone Giants will then have to go reset again, and while it was a bright spark for them, they're left again waiting on their own side of the rift, not going into that river, but waiting for Karmine Corp to call the shots.
And they were able to do so, able to even up the play, and now the question is, it's blow for blow once again. Who's going to be the one to make the first decisive win? Who's going to be the one to get that first decisive team fight that can really earn them something? Because we've seen Corp get a couple of those, but they haven't really been able to get too much off the back of it because there wasn't anything available. But now they're starting up the Baron buff. They feel like they can burst it down. And it looks like Vodafone Giants know exactly what's going on because they're teleporting members in.
They are, and this is going to be, of course, the front line going in first. That's what we said was so important to the Giants. The Karmine Corp are staying on the Baron. They think they have enough heals. Cinkrof, though, stuck in the pits.
I think this is pretty brave. A nice stun coming in onto Targamas. The Ornn has been blown. What can the Antonio do? He can get a knock up onto one. The Alistar is taken low, but he's still alive as Cabo goes into the backline. He's staying alive for a second longer, and his back is still standing. Members of Corp have kept him alive, and the Lee Sin stumbles away. xMatty on single-digit health as the re-engage comes through. Cabo gets one before going down, but this could be the return for V. But Vodafone Giants have Corp overstayed their welcome. SAKEN turning on back through, gets Kaising, and is now on the other side of the pipe. Cinkrof is still there, but Attila is still a dangerous prospect. Members of Corp didn't die, but they just recalled, meaning they are not here for the fight. but are now returning. It looks like Baron's probably not on the menu for either team, but Dragon has now spawned.
I mean, blink and you'll miss it. These are such fast kill combos. Attila sticking around. There is a teleport coming back in from SAKEN, that very elusive assassin that did pick up that last kill onto Kaising. Maybe finding an angle somewhere, although Antonio will find their recall successfully. No teleport to enter the fray this time, though. Potentially the Baron going down without a fight.
Yeah, looks like it, but members of Vodafone Giants not so convinced. Attila and Miniduke are looking towards maybe the steal, maybe some damage, aren't able to find too much. It's going to be secured by K-Corp. 28 minutes into the game, they grab themselves the first Baron and get away with it on all 5 members.
And no Antonio, no fight. Don't want to play that without the extra disruption coming in. Attila is putting out serious damage. They have themselves the great self-peel tools of that shield bow into, of course, the Wit's End. That's a big moment because suddenly you don't just have the extra shield from your overshield amongst other things. You get that low health shield with the extra magic resist, making it so damn effective. SAKEN still threatening them towards that back end. It will trade for the Dragon. Baron now becomes a question about efficiency for Karmine Corp. How much can you get off of this? Will this actually accelerate you to a point of even larger supremacy at that point? You have given over that soul point, but this is going to have to be against, of course, those Ornn items coming in. It's a race against time, and again, that efficiency of this push for Karmine Corp, which has to be the story of the game for them now.
The Ornn was blown mid as well. It looked like a team fight was tried by Vodafone Giants, knowing that LeBlanc wasn't there, but they weren't able to get anything going, really. Just having a quick scan over the summoners. Nothing was even burnt to get away from it, so massive win there for the red team, and they're going to be able to push forward with this Baron buff, and there's still a decent amount of standing gold that they can look to try and take, and it looks like Vodafone Giants aren't too keen on defending particularly out.
No, because again, we've seen what happens when the Giants kind of mount a half-hearted fight, right? They have to choose things on their terms. Most of the time that does, again, depend on where 113 and the Antonio are. And particularly, of course, if Miniduke is safe for so long in this game, the Syndra has struggled to put out good damage and provide that extra layer of CC, which Karmine Corp would be very risk averse into going towards. Miniduke trying to clear out this bot lane on their own, but they're currently 1v3. You can see they just don't want to walk up.
Yeah, they're going to be able to take down this inhibitor tower 30 minutes into this game as team fight will be kicked off. Cinkrof in the backline, but he's really, really helping. Cabochard's got the assassination onto Kaising once again. Targamas is moving forward, taking on the side now as members are diving forward. So much damage is coming through. Attila's no longer there to put out the DPS, and xMatty definitely is. Cabochard once again the architect as the rest of his team follow on through. They've got the Baron buff. They're moving onto the Nexus towers. They're going to try and take as much as they can. One tower falls. The second may well follow. They've got a minion wave there, but there are multiple members of Vodafone Giants left defending. We've seen this too many times today. This doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the game, but a nice engage coming through from the Lee Sin, who goes gold. xMatty takes the second tower, and now the Nexus is laid bare. xMatty is not interested in getting involved in any of the shenanigans. He wants the win, and do you know what? He's going to grab it. Karmine Corp take a massive one over Vodafone Giants.
In the blink of an eye, the hammer blow falls. Blink and you miss it. Said that a couple of times that game. I didn't expect that to be said towards the Nexus, though. Karmine Corp, questions are asked. Upset in the finals. Well, maybe they have fallen off. Why? What's going to happen now? They have Cabochard instead of course, Adam coming in. Well, turns out they're going to turn up and they're going to rock your world.
It was, yeah, that went 0 to 100 real quick. There was just that one team fight. They got themselves the Baron. Yes, they exchanged it for a Dragon, but they're not that bothered. A couple of team fight wins, move into the base and just end it all. And massive, massive well done to the team coming out of the LFL. That's a huge win, 2-0 now. And I believe that means the LFL is the only undefeated region.
It is, because coming into today, I believe the three which were technically the UK/NLC, because Tricked hadn't played at that point, and then you had Spain and France. So now with those other two regions losing, the LFL stand above the rest of the pack. See if that will last into another couple of days of competition. But they are looking oh so scary, Viperoon.
They're looking good, and that scares me. As a League of Legends fan, LFL supremacy. We've seen these these teams from this region, K-Corp, in recency alone, just being so dominant on the League of Legends stage. They've got such a talented roster, and they made that game look pretty straightforward in terms of closing out, which is something that some of these Amazon European Masters teams have lacked, the ability to have that scalpel to close out the game immediately. And K-Corp showed that they are not one of those teams. They're definitely one that can do that.
Well, you know, we've heard of like the balds buff. I've tried my own Samson buff, growing out my own hair. Don't know what the hell these teams have been doing though to get to this level of play. Going to go over, of course, some of the highlights from this one. This was where things started getting really quite interesting because we saw, hang on, actually Ashe is in a very difficult spot if the Antonio can just withstand all of their damage. That changed around about 2 items, but before that, I was looking at the team fights and thinking, heck, the Giants have themselves a real advantageous situation here. Of course, that was also when Miniduke was staying a lot more safe, and that's something which changed a lot throughout the rest of the game. You can see that coming into the first of many picks onto that Syndra happening there.
Was able to be picked off too many times, and it was really, really great to see how quickly the trigger could be pulled and how quickly K-Corp could turn things around and get fights going. And they looked in a very, very strong position for a lot of this game, but it was really the fact that they were able to just say, right, immediately let's go for fights. And stuff like this, it had the potential to go disastrously long, but it just never really did.
And of course, you know, when you're doing a lot of damage into Targamas who's got their ultimate on, that feels a little bit bad. Cinkrof got so much value out of the Crescent Guard throughout this fight, and as much as those blinking health bars give you a lot of faith in the damage and that you can bring out in the team fights, you really need them dead if you want to start taking advantages after the fight is done and dusted. And it just seemed like Karmine had a better finger on the pulse of the game to understand when to make the big plays and when they could just have to scarf her and get away with their lives.
I mean, a lot of that's on Cabochard as well. The Lee Sin kicks were so good in this game. You can see why he's been playing this champion for such a long time, and maybe there's got to be a ban consideration coming on through. But look at the gold graph on that final screen. Both of these teams had decent leads at certain points, but at the end of the game, there was only ever going to be one winner.
That's the way League of Legends works, unfortunately, but I think we're the winners here, Viperoon, to be a little bit sappy on that one. 3 fantastic games altogether, ending it out there. And I feel like we've had a really good look into Group D and how tall these Titans stand.
Yeah, we've seen exactly how great all of these teams are, and it's going to be a massively contested group. It's going to be super difficult to really pick a team that's going to go all the way. And we're going to have a quick look at the standings just to see exactly how all of these groups look. You can see Illuminar 2-0 and K-Corp as well remaining undefeated after 2 games. Of course, a couple of the other groups, A and B, still only played 1 apiece, so not too much movement there. But it's still early days. There's still plenty of League of Legends to be played.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting to me and the exciting thing, the really exciting thing about this is that no team has looked utterly outclassed, not looked like they are without a hope. I genuinely think we will not have any 0-6 teams in this stage of the competition, even though that can sometimes be a regular thing in this kind of venture. And that's, of course, what we're going to see tomorrow, and hopefully see some of those fates turning.
There's a lot of amazing games tomorrow. End of the day, once again, Mauers
the Group D once
Vodafone
again.
Giants looks insane. But also the game before that, Matchco versus K-Corp.
Yeah.
This group's so stacked, dude.
Absolutely. I mean, not that it is all nucleated within Group D. I mean, I'm looking at PDW versus PTA as well. Pence versus, that's always been a good regional showdown on the League of Legends scene. And I think that it doesn't matter when you tune in, actually, you're just going to get yourself some damn fine League of Legends.
It's almost like these are the best teams from the
It's crazy, I know,
leagues.
right?
It's almost like that's exactly what it is, that we've taken the cream of the crop and have put them all together to see exactly how things work. But is there a player that really stands out to you today before we go off?
Oh, heck, you didn't have to drop that one on me. We've got a lot of really good players. I actually think it has to be Cabochard. I think it has to be Cabochard because the Lee Sin top is something which can be a little bit hard to work with sometimes, but the playmaking and the ruts which he got his team out of, we saw that early game deficit, right, was inspiring to see in the way that he just piloted that champion with such finesse. Great to see.
It was a really, really great performance. There are a couple of players on losing teams that I think did very, very well. Of course, it's easy to go to Matchco once again and say, call out some of their players. But Sartorius against them had some massive plays on the Mordekaiser and was really the game winner in that final team fight. So massive shout out to him. And of course, the first 3 games of the day as well, there was a lot on display. Sure. A couple of teams really stepped up. A couple of teams maybe a little bit disappointing, looking at Tricked there. To maybe make a step up, but they have the opportunity to do so tomorrow. That is all we have time for here, the Amazon European Masters. I've been Viperoon, joined by Nymaera for the second half of the day. Massive thank you for sticking with us through these games, and there's going to be even more, same time, same place. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you tomorrow.
All in on this dragon, just try and take it down. Should be able to secure it.
Have they got the damage to finish this one up? The ace in the hole there. The dragon has been picked up, but already they've lost a member. Kazuki's ignited. Kazuki will be going down, but Marky's better not find it. Kazuki finally loses his life, but just like that, triple kill picked up onto Marky. As Brunette looks to run him down, and he goes in for the flash on the other side towards the tower. Everybody is getting bumped up, knocked up, taken down, just like that. Only finds a double kill. They're going to look to try and get into the pit. Ryazaki gets himself locked down in place, and that is going to be the steal for Z10. But the ensuing fight is just gone oh so wrong. The feathers come out, and Kenui is popping off. Double kill picked up.
In those 5v5s is a big whole thing. Bean is like trying to turn up the
xMatty might have got a little bit aggressive there. Bean's like, stay away from me, Summoner. The NLC team wants to take this fight. He's about damage, but it's all going into form as Dayo has his ultimate blocked, and now Pride needs to try and get away, dodges away from the boomerang, but it's unstoppable for xMatty as he's got the whole of the team on strings. He takes down another before being removed, and that's going to be Rox, the last victim of the fight. Teleports.
I mean, of course, that was click stacking up a little too far. Not the tank is
huge coming through. Checkerlad again with the shockwave things is just scuttling away, trying to stay alive. But that's the ultimate from Checkerlad to catch up one. But he's going to be resurrected. Bushy is not so lucky. He has been shut down by Leona as Temek will be dove on. He tries to get out the back of the pit, but he's followed by Price. But the damage coming on through. He gets the execution. Stem Boss tries to survive, gets the ultimatum, but the only person who's going to be taken down is him. Stumbles away. xMatty on single-digit health as the renegade comes through. Cabo gets one before going down, but this could be the return for me. But Vodafone Giants have K-Off overstayed their welcome. Taking back through, gets Kaising, and it's now on the other side of the fight.